Mario Kart 9 has just been revealed and I am so excited. So today I'm going to go over all the stuff I want to see in Mario Kart 9. And yes, I'm just calling it that because we don't know what the game is called at this point. But it probably won't be called Mario Kart 9 because Nintendo thinks these two things actually happened. As you probably know, I am both a casual fan of Mario Kart as well as a competitive player. So as we go through my wishlist for Mario Kart 9, I will try to offer both perspectives, which I think is important. Casual and competitive players often care about different things. For example, competitive players don't like that DS Mario Circuit is a bagging track with 7 shortcuts. But I like it because the Wiggler shows up on lap 3 and it's adorable! Anyway, just remember that despite these differences, we are not different people. Every competitive player began as a casual player who fell in love with this game. And in the end, it is the competitive players who find new strategies and create lots of content, bringing new casual players to Mario Kart and helping them improve and enjoy the game more. So I want Mario Kart 9 to be as amazing as possible for both casual and competitive players. So with that being said, Nintendo, please give us Toad's Factory! Getting to play on your favorite track in Mario Kart is such a hit of dopamine, and isn't that what this game is all about? In fact, bring back all the fan favorites that we have not seen in a while. I'm thinking Airship Fortress from Mario Kart DS, Dino Dino Jungle, and Rainbow Road from Double Dash, Rainbow Road from the DS, the actual GBA Sky Garden instead of this imposter that shares the same name. It's a pretty good track, but it's not Sky Garden. You know what? Bring back Sunshine Airport and Mount Wario. They came out 11 years ago. I already missed them. I'd also love to see tracks with concepts that we've never seen before. I'm thinking of a city track, but like a real city track. One where you fly through skyscrapers with so many alternate paths and glide over the city, which would be so beautiful at night, but also in the day. And 3DS Rainbow Road gave us a taste of a curved planet-like surface, but just a little bit. I want a full Mario Galaxy themed track. I feel like this concept is just made for Mario Kart. And I could go on and on about new track concepts, but honestly, I don't think I'm that creative. Let me know in the comments what types of tracks you'd like to see in the next game. Oh, and please bring back Cheese Land. I want the 12-second bullet extension zone. I want broken shortcuts on every turn. I want the person who is half a lap behind on lap 1 to have the best chance of winning on lap 3. It's called Cheese Land. It's literally the perfect track. And please give us Baby Park. 24 players on Baby Park, pretty please. This is competitive Mario Kart 9. 24 players of similar skill level race on Baby Park. Okay, this is either really good news or really bad news. In the trailer, you can see that Peach is wearing her dress even though she's riding a bike. But usually, we see these characters switch to a different outfit for bikes, and this means one of two things. Either they got rid of biker outfits, which we've had since Mario Kart Wii, or they are going to give us the option to change the outfit. And I'm hopeful that we'll get alternate costumes, especially because the races can have 24 players at once, so they need to have lots of characters and probably costumes. And plus, this feature is just long overdue. I mean, we got separate colors for Yoshi, Shy Guy, Birdo, and the Inklings, a separate costume for Link, but not even separate colors for Toad. And I don't think anyone would have a problem with Pink Gold Peach or Peachette taking up a character slot if they were just separate costumes for Peach. And by the way, Peachette is the reason why Inkling and Villager have their male and female characters grouped into one. There just wasn't enough space. We had to have Peachette right here. And obviously, we're going to get new characters. I don't have much to say about that. We'll just have to see who they bring in. I'm not one to speculate too much about this, but I'd love to see some new characters like Ninja, Nabbit, Poochie, even Monty Mole, Hammer Bro, Pianta, or even bring back Rob. But personally, I'd love to play as Goomba. I know, it's pretty basic, but I think it would be so funny. And remember these Mii costumes? We have characters like Samus, Captain Falcon, Fox McCloud. Why do we have these, but we cannot play as those characters? I get that Mario Kart is not Super Smash Bros. There's literally Mario in the name. But then we also have Link, Inkling, Isabelle, and Villager. So why not Kirby? But here's something that I think was just a huge oversight in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You know how you can pick between so many different vehicles, tires, and gliders? Well, some of them just don't have matching parts. If I pick Pink Inkling Girl on this beautiful inked up standard cart, why do all the tires look so ugly? There are no pink tires in the whole game. We even have yellow tires, which is nobody's favorite color, but even then, it doesn't match well with anything because of the green. I think it would be awesome to be able to change the colors or just have some more color variation in the available parts. Remember how on the DS you could literally draw on your vehicle? Okay, actually that's a bad idea. I can already imagine the horrible stuff I'd see online. And now stats. Yes, the stats. We want to look awesome, but we also want to win. I've heard people say before that they want things to have the same stats so they can play whatever they think looks good, but I think different parts should have different stats. Choosing a character and vehicle combo is not just an expression of identity and fashion, but also an expression of playstyle. However, it's just unfortunate that in high-level competitive races in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, pretty much all you see is Yoshi on the same 1 or 2 combos, and this influences people at the casual level to also pick Yoshi instead of picking their favorite character, despite this maybe being the most balanced Mario Kart game ever. Because if you want to win, why wouldn't you do what all the best players are doing? And yes, there are several other characters with the same stats as Yoshi, but out of these characters, Yoshi is so clearly the fan favorite. If they gave Diddy Kong the same stats as Yoshi, instead of having 1 less speed for no reason, I can see a world where the top players are split between Yoshi and Diddy Kong. And as long as different characters have different stats, this problem cannot be fully solved, as there will always be a best character or a best group of characters. So instead, here's what I would change. Currently, there are just so many character groups that share stats, but there simply does not need to be this many. The character speed stat varies from 1 to 10, making your character choice the most important factor that determines the stats you'll be playing with. Why? I think that's really backwards. Why wouldn't your vehicle parts determine your speed and weight and acceleration? So we can keep the character stats, but I think it should be the least important part of your combo. I want everyone to be able to express themselves by choosing their favorite character, and even if top players end up choosing all the same few characters, there's nothing we can really do about that. They're always going to do that. But the casual player in me really wants to play as Toad and not be at a severe disadvantage. And you know that if Goomba gets into this game, there's no way that little buddy gets good stats. I'm fighting for your life out here, Goomba. Oh, and one more thing while we're on the topic of stats. Nintendo, why is Mini Turbo the most important stat in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where it affects 5 different properties about your combo, but it's not even listed on the stats screen? If you ever picked a high-speed combo thinking that's how you're gonna win, you are literally going slower with this thing because it has low Mini Turbo. That's how bad the problem is. Nintendo, I know you want to keep the stats looking simple, but this is simply misleading. One thing we've all learned with each new Mario Kart game is that we can never make assumptions about what will make it into the next game based on the previous games. Okay, as I say that, I realize some of the younger viewers here have never even experienced the release of a new Mario Kart game. That is crazy. Welcome aboard. Welcome to Earth. You guys are the reason we have baby characters. So drifting is the core movement mechanic in all Mario Kart games, and whether or not they nail the feel of drifting really determines how good the game feels to play. And we've seen all sorts of drifting in past games. From some of the earlier games, the turning radius was very different and hard to control compared to now. And in Mario Kart Double Dash, you no longer needed to hop to drift, you could start a drift in mid-air, and you could wiggle the stick left and right to charge a mini turbo, which they also kept in Mario Kart DS, but then removed in Mario Kart Wii. And then Mario Kart Wii became all about inward drift, which handles completely differently from outward drift, but was so much better. And then they removed that but brought it back in Mario Kart 8, but Mario Kart 8 drifting was not nearly as important to optimize as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe drifting. Drifting is so important to Mario Kart games, and it does receive changes with each game. And in my opinion, I think drifting in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is pretty much perfect. I do expect them to make at least some small changes, but I would keep the essence of how drifting feels right now. I still remember how it felt the first time I got a purple mini turbo because I didn't even know that was a thing, and it surprised me. I think the color of the sparks, the bass in the sound design of releasing the mini turbo, and the super long length of the speed boost is just top tier game design. Getting a purple mini turbo just always feels good. And that's the most important thing about a game. Even if your favorite track isn't here, or your favorite character is bad, or you don't like broken items and bagging tracks, the game just has to feel nice to move around in, and people will play it. So I know it's weird for me to just end this section by saying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was perfect, but this is my wish list for Mario Kart 9. Not what would I change about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Sometimes the formula is already working great, and my wish is that we get more of the same drifting. But then we get to inward drifting bikes. Okay, clearly they just brought it back to say we brought it back. Now Mario Kart Wii fans can shut up. But we didn't shut up, because this is just not the same at all. It's not super obvious from watching, but the way that an inward drifting bike moves is just completely different from Mario Kart Wii. And I could give you the long version of what they changed and why it's bad, but I've done that before, so in short, it just doesn't feel as good to play. A lot of people want Nintendo to bring back inward drift to its glory days from Mario Kart Wii, and while I wouldn't mind a small buff, I hate to say it, but I don't really think they should be that good. I think inward drifting bikes should be worse than regular drifting vehicles. Okay, let's all take a deep breath. Before you get mad, hear me out. Imagine you're a casual outward drifting main in Mario Kart Wii, as most people were when they started. You've been practicing for weeks or months to get a perfect score in all the Grand Prix Cups, and then you find out about competitive Mario Kart Wii. They use inward drift. They're all Funky Kong. This is when you realize that you are not really playing the same game. You have to relearn it. Or imagine you're playing Mario Kart DS, just casually taking good lines and mastering the tracks, and then you find out about snaking. Or Mario Kart 8, you finally feel like a pro on all 48 tracks, but you didn't know about fire hopping. Now, for some people, discovering a whole new world like this is very motivating and inspiring. But for a lot of people, it's like finding out your favorite character in Super Smash Bros. Is actually bottom tier. Okay, I have to relearn how to play the game to be good? I think this is generally bad for a game, but you don't have to agree with me on that. The fact is, all of these things that I mentioned have either been nerfed or removed in subsequent Mario Kart games. Nintendo clearly thinks a certain way about this. This is Mario Kart, not Mario Bike, and I personally agree. When a casual player looks at a game like Mario Kart, they expect a particular type of gameplay, and they also expect that the top competitive players in the world are pretty much playing the same game, but just way better at it. They're not using techniques that fundamentally don't make sense to you. You want to make a game where the new players can at least understand what's going on in a top level match. It just makes the game that much more enjoyable for new players and casual fans. And the best part is, if you love inward drift, or you love snaking, or you love fire hopping, those games still exist. I don't want Nintendo to patch out the strategies that make each game special. I just hope they have a brand new weird thing that everyone can love or hate in the next game. Yeah, you probably saw this coming. You may have noticed I mentioned a few things from previous Mario Kart games, but left something off the list. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has perhaps the biggest problem of them all: bagging. This is high-level gameplay. That does not look at all like how you'd think the game should be played. And worst of all, it doesn't even look impressive. Now, don't get me wrong, winning by bagging is not easy at all. It just looks easy, and that's already a problem. People don't take this game seriously because half the time, high-level gameplay doesn't look that hard. It just looks like gambling for items. And how can I convince you that you should play this game for all the amazing advanced techniques when so much of the time I'm doing this? Now, I think bagging is really fun and really difficult to do well, but it takes an entire section in the pro guide to even explain why that's the case. Bagging should exist in Mario Kart, because powerful items exist in Mario Kart. I'm not trying to take that away. But if I was designing the game, I would never make it so that bagging is the dominant strategy on so many different tracks. I just think that's too much. Except for Cheeseland, okay? Everyone just calm down. It's literally called Cheeseland. We can keep bagging on Cheeseland. So in Mario Kart 9, I hope that bagging is less effective than it currently is. And this can take many forms. You can reduce the chances of good items in the back. You can design the tracks to have smaller or fewer shortcuts. You can just reduce the number of bagging tracks. You can give better counterplay to the frontrunners to deal with items like the Shock and Blue Shell. You can make the middle of the pack less chaotic by changing the item probabilities or nerfing attack items. Another idea is to get rid of double item boxes, because obviously getting more items benefits the people at the back who get better items. There are just so many ways to make bagging less effective, some ideas being better and more practical than others. Personally, I'd keep double item boxes because I think they're just so much fun, but also you get to apply more strategy as you race. So instead, I would make some changes with how certain items work. Obviously, we still don't know which items will or will not make it into Mario Kart 9, and most likely we will be getting new items that we've never seen before, but I'm still curious about what this thing is for. People are saying it's probably a Wonder Seed, but it's still unclear what this actually does. Most of the time, the majority of items from one Mario Kart game will reappear in the next game. I'm really curious what items will be added, or if they'll bring back items from previous games that we have not seen in a while. For example, the Mega Mushroom from Mario Kart Wii. As a casual player in Mario Kart Wii, I always felt like the Mega Mushroom was a bit underwhelming. It didn't last that long, you could still get hit by a star or bullet, and you cannot always find someone near you to squish. However, with 24 players on the racetrack, I think the Mega Mushroom makes a lot more sense now, as there will always be people around you to attack. Another item I'd love to see is the Fake Item Box, or FIB, which I always felt like was such a fitting name. A fake item box is basically the same as a banana peel, but with a bigger hitbox and also cannot block other items like red shells, so its only function is to hit other players. Now, I don't really care if specifically the fake item box comes back or not, but what I want is an item that serves the function of trapping. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, if I have a banana in first, unless it's right before an item set, I'm almost never going to drop this on the ground. Red shells are just too powerful and too common, so risking getting hit by a red shell just doesn't really make sense. And the banana is the only permanent item you can place on the ground. You can place a bomb, but it explodes after a while, so if your lead is too big, nobody gets hit. So trapping is almost non-existent in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I think it's just such a fun part of Mario Kart. It would be so fun to trap commonly taken paths, which also just gives you more to do if you're near the front. I don't like that in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, playing at the front is almost entirely defense. And of course, if the fake item box does come back, I'd love for there to be no coin item. Otherwise, dodging a red shell will be a huge coin flip. Get it? Coin? You get it. Speaking of red shells, why are they so powerful in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? They almost never break on anything, and they can even fly to get you in gliders. In Mario Kart 9, I hope there is more defensive counterplay against red shells. For example, if I just made it around a tight corner, I think the red shell should break on the corner. If red shells were just like 10% dumber than they are now, I think that would make for better gameplay and just more opportunities to make smart plays. Oh, and also, right now, why does second place have a 40% chance of pulling red shells? That's kind of insane. Nintendo, please fix this in the next game. Ah, the blooper. I don't really have much to say about this. It's kind of funny when everything is going poorly and the cherry on top is you pull a blooper, but as an item, it's just not that effective and not fun to use. Plus, good players know how to drive with a blooper in their face, so this just punishes new players, which is not really in the spirit of Mario Kart. And now let's directly address bagging. I would love to keep double item boxes, which definitely buffs bagging, but with some other changes, we can keep bagging in check. So let's quickly rapid fire some of these changes that I would make. So bagging is when you stay in the back for items and make a comeback later, and part of why this is so good is because the mid pack is just unplayable. There are way too many attack items and they work too well. Even without nerfing these items, we could at least make them show up less, and that would immediately nerf bagging as a whole. Plus, with 24 players, I don't think we need that many attack items. It's already going to be chaotic. You could also make some changes to help the frontrunners a bit more. For example, extend the blue shell and shock cooldown from 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and make the chances of pulling these items not based on how far you are from first, but just based on your placement. That way, if half the room is bagging, you don't have 3 blue shells and 2 shocks in the same race. That's why bagging tracks are unplayable for the frontrunners. It's not just the shortcuts, it's that the blue shells and shocks show up too much. The speed items you can get in the bag are not even that big of a deal, because comebacks should be possible in Mario Kart. Let's just not make front running a nightmare at the same time. Now, I didn't want to end this section without at least one new item suggestion, but like I said, I don't think I'm that creative when it comes to this stuff, so let me know what your ideas for new items are in the comments. My idea is not exactly a new item, but it's kind of new. I would love to repurpose the Fire Flower. I don't like this item, and I don't think it's good in its current form. It's way too powerful for how easy it is to use. You get to throw 10 fireballs, and they bounce. That is almost a guaranteed hit on your target. When someone snipes me with a green shell, I can acknowledge the skill, but with the Fire Flower, even I don't feel good landing a hit because it's just cheap. So what can we do instead? Well, if you think about it, how the Fire Flower works in the Super Mario Bros. Games is not just that they give you fireballs. You get a costume change, which is already really cool, and you get to become invincible for just one hit. In other words, once you get hit, you lose your fire form and go back to normal. So imagine the Fire Flower works similar to how it does now. You still get 10 throws, but also a sick costume change. But then, the more fireballs you throw, the faster the timer goes down before you lose the power-up. So you won't always just mindlessly spam fire, you might want to keep the one hit of invincibility for as long as you can. I think this makes the Fire Flower a much better item because it gives the user more decisions to make, leads to less mindless chaos, and is closer to the spirit of the Fire Flower item. And also, this is an invincibility item that now functions kind of similarly to the Boo, which means we could get rid of the Boo. I think the Boo is really funny, but from a competitive standpoint, the fact that it randomly steals an item is not that great. I don't really have an opinion on whether the Boo should or shouldn't stay because I like it as a casual and I hate it as a competitive player. But if the Fire Flower works like this, then we don't even really need a Boo. We can see from the trailer that there's definitely going to be coins in this game, and something that I felt like was really missing from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is some sort of indication as to what coins are actually doing and how important are they. Because a lot of newer players just don't collect enough coins, and then they just don't go fast enough, and you can't really tell the difference in how fast you're moving, but you can lose multiple seconds over a full race just by not having enough coins. So I think they should add a speedometer. Simply show us the speed, and it will be pretty clear. Because when I say something like 6 to 7% faster for having 10 coins, people don't necessarily feel what that means. But if your top speed just went from 80 kilometers an hour to 85 kilometers an hour, everyone knows what that means. It's a big difference. And just to really drive the point home, I think when you collect coins, the speedometer should play some sort of animation or color change to show you what the coins are actually doing. Because not only do people underestimate the power of coins, a lot of people don't even know it makes you faster because no one looks at the tutorial in this game. I don't even know where it is. I'm sure it's somewhere. I think Mario Kart 9 could really benefit from a more creative single-player mode. In Mario Kart DS, there was a mission mode. It was pretty simple for the most part, where you just drive through some circles or collect some coins, but for a new player, these challenges are actually difficult and help you build skills. Remember the first time you did a time trial, how difficult it was to grab all the coins? The only thing making you practice enough to actually get them is because you want to. But imagine if the game gave you achievements for doing that. It's simple game design 101 that I cannot believe does not already exist in the newest Mario Kart game. And the DS mission mode also had boss battles. If you think about it, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is literally just racing, racing, racing battle mode. But movement is fun in this game, and achieving a variety of goals besides getting first place is just fun. And okay, I'm gonna say it, I don't like mirror mode. I get what they're going for. It's an entirely new game mode that costs them basically nothing to make, and it does add a challenge, but I just don't like it. It's literally the same track, I'm just suddenly not good at it. It's like if they had a no drifting mode, or a 30 frames per second mode. Okay, well they already have that, it's called playing 3 or 4 players at once. Hope they fix that in the next game, but it's just the same game that I always play, but worse. I don't feel like that adds anything. I think if they want to reuse the tracks but still have a different layout, then the obvious choice is backwards tracks, except for Baby Park. Oh, you know what's funny? For Baby Park, mirror mode and backwards mode are the same thing. I spend most of my time in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe playing online, and I think the online, for the most part, is really good. Obviously, there are things I would choose to improve, but overall, it's a pretty great experience. Longtime viewers know what I'm about to talk about here, but let me first say a few general things about online play. There is no worldwide option to play 200cc. What? I don't think I need to elaborate on this one. VR, or versus rating, is the number that represents your skill level online. This system is definitely flawed. If you'd like, go ahead and add up all the plus and minus numbers here after a race. If you do that, you'll notice that the total number went up. It always goes up. In other words, if you put 12 equally skilled players in the same room and they just kept playing nonstop, eventually everyone will hit the maximum VR of 99999. VR is not an accurate representation of skill level in theory, but in practice, it's pretty alright. If your VR is lower than 10,000, then the number actually does a decent job of representing your skill level. And 10,000 to 20,000 is pretty much one entire skill tier. Anything above 20,000 is another skill tier, and it starts to mean less because if you can get there, then often you can get as high as you want. But at that level, most players will stop caring about their VR and instead focus on their MMR. MMR, or matchmaking rating, is a number given to you by the competitive Mario Kart community and is calculated based on your results in competitive matches. Unlike VR, MMR is zero-sum, meaning that nobody will go up in MMR forever. MMR is a much more accurate representation of skill level, and honestly, I think this current system is good enough. Obviously, I would prefer for the VR system to be improved, but since there is already a solution created by the competitive community, fixing VR is not a must for me. Plus, this encourages us to play by a rule set created and agreed upon by the community and actually talk to other players in order to participate. Okay, now for the stupid stuff. Online lag is not usually a problem, but when it is a problem, the lag is really bad in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Nintendo could actually fix most of it really easily. And with how easy the fix is, and with how many people have complained and quit this game over it, I will be very unhappy unless this is fixed in Mario Kart 9. So for the most part, you don't feel lag online because there is no input delay, and it feels exactly the same as playing offline. However, if you watch the other players, everyone lags around in unpredictable ways. This is because the game just makes sure that you have a good time, but it's very slow at reading everyone else's position and updating them. This is why when you hit someone, it might look like they got hit, but they actually did not get hit on their screen, so the game updates accordingly. In theory, this is good, but in practice, the amount of delay before an update occurs can take multiple seconds, and all along, the other player was right next to you, and they can still drop an item on you, or even lag trail you. Okay, what is a lag trail? Now we're getting into it. Well, in Mario Kart, you can drag certain items behind you by holding the item button, and this is called a trail item. Trailing an item usually is to help you protect against red shells, but you can also use it to hit other players. Now, before we talk about trailed items, let's first talk about how thrown items work. When someone throws an item at me, I often have enough time to react, and I can dodge the item. This is why when I throw an item at somebody else and it looks like it hit, it did not always hit. This looks weird, but it's actually good. This is defender priority. The defender gets the opportunity to defend against your attack, and their screen takes priority. The hit only counts on the defender's screen. If we had attacker priority, I might have still gotten hit here because I got hit on my opponent's screen. And that's not what we want. Defender priority is better. But this is not how trail items work. If I hit you on my screen, this is a guaranteed hit regardless of where we both were located on your screen. Maybe you weren't even close to me, but I still hit you anyway because you were lagging on my screen. This is attacker priority. Maybe you teleported on my screen for no reason at all, and now your race is ruined because my screen, as the attacker, has priority. I have been all the way across the road, and this daisy exits the shortcut and ends my life. It doesn't have to be this way. All Nintendo has to do is change it so that all items can only hit you on your own screen. Defender priority only. Sure, everyone else's position is still lagging, but at least that gives me the chance to just stay far away from them to be safe. I don't want to randomly get hit by nothing. At least give me some chance to dodge it, or even just see what hit me. And the last time that I brought this up, a lot of people came with counter arguments saying that no, maybe this system is actually good. So this time I'm going to address the counter arguments. One counter argument is that if we always use defender priority, then if my trail item hits on the opponent's screen, doesn't that mean sometimes my trail item will just randomly disappear without me seeing why? Well, in theory, yes, that can happen, but it's not usually going to happen, because with defender priority, other players would actually be able to dodge the trail item. You think this person wanted to drive into my trail item like this? No, that was lag. They did not do this on purpose. The current system actually makes me lose my trail item more often. Defender priority is way better in every way here. And plus, would you rather randomly lose your trail item or randomly get hit? Another argument I've heard is that shooter games pretty much all use attacker priority instead of defender priority. But here's the thing, Mario Kart is not a shooter. In a shooting game, attacks are supposed to be instantaneous. The defender often cannot even know what hit them. That's how a shooter works. But in Mario Kart, this item floats around me at a safe distance, and suddenly I've been hit by nothing. Nobody shot at me. The trail item just decided that we have the same coordinates now. That's not fun. That's not responsive game design. This actively takes control away from both players in this interaction. People have literally quit the game because this is so infuriating to deal with online. Oh, and this also applies to revolving items, not just trail items. Any item that follows around you has this property. Now, if the internet connection between everyone was perfect, then we wouldn't have to talk about attacker priority and defender priority because everyone would just see the same thing. So Nintendo could definitely improve lag trails by improving connection quality between consoles. That would be a huge win already. But given Nintendo's reputation with their online services, I feel like that's a lot to ask for. So in Mario Kart 9, all I really ask for is to change the one line of code that favors the attacker and please prioritize the defender instead. That alone would fix 90% of my problems with online play. Can you imagine if we got a track editor? It would be so cool to be able to make our own tracks. I think it would be incredibly hard for there to be a system in-game where we can actually make cool-looking tracks that function well. I mean, think about all the stuff you have to consider, like out-of-bounds zones, checkpoints, making sure the gliders take you to the right spot. I mean, it can be done. It would just be a lot of work to make a good track. But something that wouldn't be that hard is if we could share clips online. Right now, we have places like YouTube, Discord, Reddit, Twitter, or X, but what if we could share clips in-game directly? That way, you could also have a lot of your favorite clips all in one place, and you could so easily go find clips. This would be a lot like what they already have in Super Smash Bros. And speaking of Super Smash Bros, you can share stages you create online there. So, if they add a track editor, then sharing clips and sharing tracks seems like a no-brainer. And here's some stuff that I don't think will happen because Nintendo is Nintendo, but I think these would be incredible. Currently, we have 4 speed modes, but nobody plays 50 or 100cc besides when you're starting to learn this game. 150cc is the most popular mode, and 200cc is a really good addition. In Mario Kart 9, I'd love to see 200cc return, and I think it probably will, but I want more. With how big a lot of the tracks will most likely be due to there being 24 players at once, that naturally lends itself to being good for 200cc as well. But that's going to remove some of the challenge of 200cc. So let's get 300cc from Mario Kart 9. In fact, let's have some insane game modes just for fun. I know this will probably never happen, but 500cc, 1000cc, it doesn't really feel like Mario Kart at that speed, but that's kind of the point. It's just for fun and not to be taken seriously. I mean, we literally have custom items that can be set to blue shell only or bullet bill only, and the gameplay here is just not fun at all, which is why nobody ever plays these, but everyone has played it at least once because it's so novel and we all want to try it, and it just cannot be that hard for Nintendo to add more speed modes to the custom rules. And I know I'm just begging at this point, but please add Item Rain. This game mode just makes perfect sense for Mario Kart. The beauty of this game is about randomness and chaos and adapting to your circumstances to barely eke out a win, and I think a game mode like Item Rain perfectly exemplifies this more than any other game mode. I'll admit, it's really silly, but I really think it fits with this game. So let me know your thoughts. I'll be reading a lot of comments because I'm really excited for Mario Kart 9. But I know that with how much I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, there is no way this game will live up to all of my hopes. Well, I don't know, if they remove lag trails online, it might just already be a better game. And knowing Nintendo, they will take big swings, and some people will like those decisions, and some people will not. So if your uncle works at Nintendo, please show him this video. And also, Mario Kart skill transfers from game to game. I am not selling you anything. I am just promoting my Mario Kart guides. Go watch them so you don't get left behind in Mario Kart 9 and end up in 24th place. That would be so embarrassing.